Hey there, Kimberly here with Knit for Brains, and today I'm just going to talk about the projects that I'm working on here on our cruise, so stay tuned. Hey there, Kimberly here with Knit for Brains, and just wanted to pop on. This is really not going to be very long, but it's really going to be all about the projects that I'm working on. We are currently in Tahiti. Specifically, we are in Papayete, which is the capital city of Tahiti. Tahiti is actually comprised of 118 islands. We've actually been on two. We're on the big island of Tahiti, and 2 days ago we were on the island of Moorea, which was amazing. The Brit is over here, and he is doing all the editing, so we're going to be posting some videos this week of our adventures here in Tahiti, and it was amazing. We went snorkeling, we saw sharks and stingrays. We actually went snorkeling with sharks and stingrays, which was something that I didn't know was on my list, even I would say my bucket list, but it happened, and it was incredible. Incredible, increíble, as they would say here, because it's a French Polynesian country. Anyways, so we've been here for the last, we've been here 3 nights? 2 nights? We started out in Moorea, and then we spent the day in Moorea, and then we came and spent the night in Tahiti, and all day yesterday and tonight. So technically we spent 2 full nights in Tahiti, but like 3 days. I think that's how it worked out. Anyways, so we are back on the ship. Today we did a whole tour around the back of the island, front to back, about 120 kilometers. I don't know how many miles that is. I'll have to let you know about that. But anyways, it was amazing. We really feel like we've got a great spirit of Tahiti and the people, and they're beautiful and they're wonderful. So it's been an amazing trip. Where did I put it? I went shopping today. I bought myself some Tahitian vanilla, which is apparently like the finest in the world. It is basically $1 a gram. So this little package right here, which is 25 grams, cost me $25. But you can totally smell it if you can just see it. And so you basically do a little teeny tiny bit and you scrape it in there. So I told the Brit I would, when we get back home, I would be making him some Tahitian creme brulee out of this. So this is wonderful. The other thing that I got is when you get off of this ship, when they welcome you, they put these sweet little flowers that they give you to put behind your ear, and it is a Tahitian tiara, Tiare flower, and it's like a gardenia. I don't know if it's sitting around. I think it died. Anyways, I love the scent, so I bought myself a little bit of this, just like a little bit of eau de parfum, but it smells so good, and it really reminds me of the island. So I got that. And I'm just sitting here drinking my little bit of tea after lunch. Which reminds me, I should tell you, after the last video we did, which was of the chef's table, the Lumineo, people were like, oh my God, that is so much food. And yes, that was so much food. Too much food. There is so much food on these ships that you could just eat yourself into oblivion, and we don't do that. So I just want you all to know that I didn't finish everything on my plate. I took a little bite. I got the smallest portions I possibly could get, but on a days at sea, there's all kinds of activities, and I have been doing Zumba every morning, 45-minute Zumba class, and then sometimes in the afternoon there's like an energy dance class that I take as well. So I'm burning about 400 calories a day, and I'm trying not to consume that and then some. So just so you know, we're also playing pickleball on the deck. I'm taking hula dance lessons because I'm going to be in a hula performance. So we don't just spend our time eating, because you totally could, and that would be very, very, very bad. And I have really tried to get into a routine where I'm doing some exercise, getting out, walking. Yesterday we walked about 3 or 4 miles around the town. Today I did about almost 3 miles. So we're getting some good exercise and not trying to eat too much. Okay, enough of that. You're like, what have you done? I finished the cowl. I love it. Look how pretty that turned out. Actually, it's probably this way if you really want to look at it. Right? So these are the 2 colors. It was the Mosaic Moon that I got and I mixed it with an Angora weight, this gold color, and I really love it. It's really thick. So the pattern that I was using called for a sock weight yarn, so it's a little bit thinner, which would have made this a little bit drapier. This is a little bit thicker, but I love it. So this is going to be my winter cowl because it's actually going to be, it's quite toasty, but it's wonderful. It's really, really, really nice. So I finished this one. So this is really cool. And this is just a real basic spike stitch. Here, I'll show you. I'll fold it over and I'll let you guys see it. But as you can see with that spike stitch, it pulls up the different colors. So it's a spike stitch is a really great way to highlight colors in your yarn. So if you really have this beautiful yarn that you're really not sure what to do with, my go-to is always going to be a spike stitch, and then you can just alternate in, you know, like one of the complementing colors. And to be honest with you, I love it. I do love it, and it's very, very warm, but I probably would have chosen something, you could have even done like even a white or a cream and really made that Mosaic Moon, which was my main color, this one, really make it pop. As it is, I'm very happy with it. It's going to be my new autumn go-to cowl, so I love this one. The project that I am the most excited about and the most loved is this one, the cowl that I'm making with the assigned pooling yarn. And I think I've mentioned to you, if you guys have, you know, checked back with some of my recent videos, this yarn was designed for a knit pattern. It was a knit and purl, and then when you came across the yellow in this assigned pooling yarn, you were to make this star stitch. And as I said, I didn't like it because it left holes in the yarn, in the fabric that you were making, and it just kind of looked, I don't know, like cheap, like it was just, there was something wrong with it. And so I was really leery about doing it as a knit pattern. So I just kind of toyed around with some stitches, and I came up with a single crochet here. So you can see how it's really making the fabric nice and dense. I don't want it to be lacy. I want it to be nice and dense so that it really highlights and these bubble. And I decided to go with the bubble stitch. I checked out the star stitch, which wouldn't work. I tried the popcorn stitch, which I didn't like. The bobble stitch just really seemed to highlight and come through. And I'm just basically going across, adding a stitch on each side, doing single crochets across, and then a bobble stitch every time I run into the yellow. I have 3 skeins of this, so this is my first one. Almost done. It's a sock weight, so it's going to be really nice and big, but it's going to be just dense. And I also got the speckled yarn. As you can see, there's these little speckles that are popping through. And oh my goodness, am I in love. Come on, camera, focus on this. Oh my goodness, am I absolutely in love with this yarn. It totally, especially with the speckles, it absolutely reminds me of Starry Night. Now, I originally was going to pop all of the bobble stitches through on the one side, but it started looking really busy, right? And I thought, you know, there's no reason why I have to have them all on one side. So I'm alternating them so that it's actually going to be 2-sided and they're popping up on both sides, which makes it not as busy. Like you can see here, there's 2 bobble stitches right here, but I've popped them through on the other side, so it doesn't quite show up as much. So it really highlights the bobbles and doesn't make them quite so busy. I am just loving this. So I'm going to keep working on this. My goal is to have this whole thing finished, if not by the time we finish the cruise, by the time we come back. So after we finish this cruise, we realized yesterday we're halfway through. We are on day 14 of our cruise. It's a 27-day cruise, so we're halfway through. And it seems like we've been on this cruise for a very long time. It's kind of become our apartment, which is great. Like right now we're in our room, and I like being in our room because it gets very noisy out on the deck, as you guys have found, and can be very distracting. So I thought, well, no reason why I can't do it in here. I'll show you the deck at other times, but I just wanted to show you what I was working on here. But you know, by the end of the day, we come home, we finished our day, we come in, we've got a TV that's got like a whole bunch of movies and TV shows on it, if you want to do that. The Brit here has figured out how to hook up our Netflix account, so we can do that. We have a little deck and stuff we can set on this. So there's We can sit outside. There's lots of things you can do, even like in your room. And we did, pay extra to get the balcony room, so why not use it? So we're pretty excited. We're actually pulled up next to a super yacht that's been docked next to us, but they're not on board. But the thing is pretty freaking amazing. Anyways, so we're just kind of hanging out in the room in the afternoon, and then we'll go do stuff. But tomorrow is going to be a day at sea for the next 4 days. So I'll do my Zumba. I'll get back into that, and I'll do some different things like that. It's nice to have a routine going. So anyways, working on this one here. This is one of my 2 projects left, and I am just loving this. The only thing you have to be careful about with bobble stitches, if you haven't done them before, is just to recognize that you don't want to go into all 3 stitches. If you see here, there's actually 3 little stitches here, but you don't want to go into all 3 of them, because what you're going to end up doing is increasing, and then it's going to get kind of wonky and strange. So you only want to go into like the stitches right before and then like right after. So here, like, I'm actually skipping that inside stitch there, and that keeps it nice. Otherwise it starts doing this weird arc thing. So that's how I've been managing to keep it nice and straight like this. And then I'll just have to block it at the end, because I'm really trying to keep my single crochets really nice and tight. So this is going to be my dream, my love. And yes, it is starting to look like Monet's water lilies. If you ever, the painting I'm talking about, I'll see if I can find a picture and post it. It is starting to remind me of that with the water lilies. But it's still called Starry Night, and that's what I'm going with. So that's that one. Lastly, so I've been, as you know, I've been working on a pattern out of this book. I brought with me 4 skeins of the Schitt's Creek yarn, which, by the way, love Schitt's Creek. Love it. Afghans, anything like that. It's got this great density to it. It's a weight of 4, but it just has this, when you crochet it up, it has this real nice, thick, dense feeling. It doesn't feel oily. Sometimes when you get an acrylic, it almost has like a squeaky, oily feel to it. This does not. Super, super soft, really nice soft acrylic. Absolutely loving it. So these are all Schitt's Creek yarn that I'm using. I brought 4 skeins. And these skeins will be done by the time the ship is docked. Now, I may not be done with the Afghan, but I will be done with the stitches. So I'm making again this Afghan for my stepdaughter. She requested an Afghan in gray, so I'm using predominantly grays and whites, but I am going to be integrating in some yellow. So this was my ripple stitch, my rigid ripple, which I finished a while ago, but this is done. So the Afghan's going to be, pretty long. Okay, so this is one strip here. And this one here, I actually counted across and I went horizontally with the stitches. All right. This one here is just this is called the Alpine stitch. And this is just a double crochet drop down, where you just drop down to the row below, giving it a really nice kind of a knobby texture to it. And so that's going to go, when this is all done, I have to piece this all together, but it'll go something like this, right? And so these 2 will be 2 rows together. Then the third one that I did was called Wavy Days. I did it in the cream, and it looks like this, which is really cool. So this is similar to the rigid ripple. However, this one just kind of goes up and down, up and down, up and down, right? This one here has more of a kind of an open and a close, because what you do is you alternate the increases and decreases. So it's a series of single crochets, half double crochets, double crochets, triple crochets, half doubles, and so basically up and then down. And then you separate the rows with a back loop only single crochet. Now the interesting thing about this one is, instead of going horizontal this way, I went vertical. So I basically crocheted across and it went down this way. So when I put this with the other patterns, or with the other panels rather, it's going to be really interesting, because this one is going to go horizontal, but this pattern is actually kind of going perpendicular. And so I think it's going to give it a really interesting, let's see if I can do this, a really interesting texture between the 2. Can you see that? Cool. right? So I'm very excited about how this is working up. And I realized that that's kind of how this book is written, where you do the patterns in a vertical way. So rather than trying to figure out how many stitches across and making sure that it matches up, you basically just figure out how wide you want your pattern to be, and then you just go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth until it reaches the length of the entire afghan. It makes it a little bit easier to do it that way. So this one here is just a bobble stitch, but you basically just come in 2 double crochets and then you do a series of bobble stitches, which I do love bobble stitches very much. This is just a series of bobbles, but again, it's going to be going this way across that way. Okay, so when this is done, now this is taking up a lot of yarn, so it might actually finish. So I'm working on this one here. When this is done, then I'm just going to, this is what I have left of those 3 and whatever I have left of this one. And I'm going to continue just making things until all the yarns are done. What I think I am going to do though, because again, this is the pattern that I'm doing here. I think what I'm going to do is probably do like this last one here and integrate 2 of the colors. I think that's going to give it a little bit, it's going to kind of tie it in nicely. I mean, I could even do like something like this and alternate in like a yellow and a gray or something like that. But I think I'm going to do probably one of the grays and the whites like this one. And then maybe a yellow and a gray similar to something else. I could even do like this one here where it's got the bubbles. So that could be like a yellow bubble coming through a gray. So I'm not really sure where I'm going with that one right now, but right now I'm just finishing up this bubble. And then I'll have to start combining the yarn. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to run out of yarn before I run out of patterns. So I'm going to come home and I'm going to have to finish this at home, but that's okay. My goal is that I'm going to have all of these done because then they're going to pack nice and flat so that when we get off the ship, we still have another 3.5 weeks to go because we're going to be touring through Australia and it'll be nice and easy to pack these things flat. That's kind of where I'm going for this. So basically, by the time we finish the ship, the only crochet project I'm going to have left, I think, is going to be this guy. And again, hopefully by the time we finish in Australia, I'll be done. Now that being said, I would lie if I didn't tell you that I haven't already researched some yarn shops in New Zealand and Australia. So our next stop on our ship is going to be in American Samoa. We get there in about 3 or 4 days. We're there for 1 day. And I don't really know much about American Samoa, so we might kind of end up staying on the ship. I don't think there's much to do there. Sorry if you're from American Samoa. If you are, comment below and tell me what there is to do there. And then after that, we have another 2 or 3 days at sea, and then we spend 3 days in New Zealand, and we are both, the Brit and I, are very excited about New Zealand. We're going to go to Hobbiton, where they filmed the movie The Hobbit. We're going to go kayaking and go into some glowworm caves, and we're going to go zip lining. But you guys know that New Zealand is known for yarn. If you have an Ashland loom, you know that it comes from New Zealand. You know that they have New Zealand sheep and superwash merino wool, and Sydney is no different. So I'm probably going to be bringing some yarn back with me. And of course, when I find those stores, I'm taking you with me as well. Just, so stay tuned, hang in there. Again, for those of you who have just joined on, thank you so much. We just got a big bump, so a lot of you just recently joined. You're thinking, is this a travel channel? Is this a knitting channel? It's predominantly, it's a crochet channel. That's what it is. But my husband and I, aka the Brit, we like to travel a lot, and I always bring projects with me. And so this is sort of my travel and crochet channel. So I do book reviews, I do yarn reviews, I'm going to take you into stores, I'm going to show you all that kind of stuff. So it's sort of like a whole big mishmash of a bunch of different things. But predominantly, Knit for Brains is me, Kimberly, who crochets and or knits, and we travel. So right now you're coming with me. We're currently in the South Pacific. You're welcome. And we are touring along through. So that's it. That's all I have for you today. Now, like I said, we have some amazing footage of some of the stuff that we did here in Tahiti. and I'll be posting those videos sometime this week, probably, where you'll get to see us. And it's just snorkeling. There's really not a lot of yarn stuff. That's why I thought I'd come on today and kind of show you what I'm doing here. But hang in there, subscribe, tell your friends about us. And like I said, we're working through, one of my subscribers said, I just got that book, I'm not really sure how to use it. So pay attention, because that's kind of what I'm doing now. And I'm just telling you, this is probably one of the best books that I've ever purchased, as far as for Afghans, because it's you can really use your own creativity. Got on Amazon. I know I posted a link before. But this is by Esme Crick. She's from England, but the book is written in U.S. crochet terms. That's the key. It is written in U.S. crochet terms, and I'm really loving it. Like, this is one of the few books I've actually read from cover to cover. It's very easy to figure out and navigate through whichever pattern they're calling for, and then and the instructions are really good too. So that's it. That's what I've got. I finished my cowl. Da-da-da! I am still working on my assigned pooling crochet. Someone was like, I didn't think you could totally crochet with assigned pooling. And to be honest with you, I didn't think you could either. I really didn't think it could be done. So I'm very excited about this and loving this so much more than I know I would have loved the knit project. And I know me, and it would have stayed on needles for a lot longer than it's going to be staying on a hook. So that, and then I'm finishing up this project as well. So there you go. This is Kimberly with Knit for Brains. Thank you so much for subscribing and hanging in there with us, and asking about cruising life. It's amazing, but we are 14 days into our 27-day cruise, so we got about halfway to go. I'll show you more stuff cruising as it shows up, but we're just hanging out in the room today, and it's really okay. I really like it a lot. Catching up on movies and stuff too. All right. Tell your friends about us. Please send them over, like and subscribe. We do have a lot of fun here, and we're going to keep having a lot more fun. So, as always, I'll see you soon.